Hello, everyone. So tonight on the Pearl Show, we have a very, very, very special guest. I'm so honored. Savannah's own Mayor Van Johnson. And on today, we're going to be talking about COVID-19, social distancing, unemployment, systematic racism. We're going to touch on a lot of different topics. So if you're tuned in, I would like you to go ahead and share this live, tag someone in it, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I mean, any day you're alive, you're blessed to be in a number. It's a good day.
That's good.
Good day.
So, Mayor Johnson, let's go ahead and talk about the COVID-19. As of today, how many cases do we have in Chatham County?
I do not have the slightest idea. I know it's well over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we've had almost 300 cases in the last 5 days. I know we're over 500% since June the 1st.
Okay.
But the number is so fluid that I didn't get any chance to review it. But we have more cases than we should have.
What about the deaths?
We remain relatively stable on deaths, but we do know that more infections, it leads to more hospitalizations, which leads to more deaths. So if you keep the infections down, then obviously you try to keep your number of deaths down.
So, what about the recovery rates?
I do not track that. So
Okay.
I mean, obviously, for us, more people recover from COVID than um, than die from it. So that's good news. But I think whenever you put yourself in a situation where, or anybody is in a situation where they're sick, COVID, right? It's a respiratory disease. So your lungs, you might recover, but you're not what you used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and so it makes you more susceptible to things. So again, our goal has been to make sure that we keep people safe.
So, let's talk about the testing centers. Where are they located in Savannah, Georgia?
Well, again, that's handled through the Chatham County Health Department,
Okay.
the Department of Public Health, which is run as a statewide agency, and then we're a part of an 11 county area called the Coastal Health District.
Okay.
So the Coastal Health District actually manages most of the testing. They've been doing most of it at their um, facility on Eisenhower Drive, but then they've done other things, other testings. Also, the Curtis B. Cooper Primary Health Center, the J.C. Lewis Primary Health Center have also provided testing. And then we've had like CORE, it's a group that came in and they've also had testing. We have several churches and faith-based organizations. They're also doing testing. So, I mean, there's a lot of testing going on. It gets more and more difficult because we're doing it outside. And as you know, today it was hot.
It was extremely hot.
And the index is over 100 degrees, and we're expecting that for the rest of the week.
So, are individuals only tested that show symptoms?
That was the case at first. Now I believe they'll test anybody, which is why they've become overwhelmed. Today at the Eisenhower site, I believe it was just so hot that the staff could not just continue because they're wearing PPEs and you're outside for long periods of time and the heat just gets overwhelming. And we have to take care of people who are taking care of us.
You're absolutely correct. So, back in April, Governor Kemp made a decision to reopen businesses. And you stated that you felt like it was irresponsible and immature and dangerous. What did you mean by that?
Well, the President of the United States, his own task force, Corona Task Force, indicated that you needed to have a downward trend of at least 14 days um, before you could consider re-engaging in a phased-in reopening approach. On August the 24th, in Georgia, we were still on the rising end of it, and Governor Kemp, and for whatever reasons he did, he allowed for the opening of hair shops, beauty salons, massage establishments, and tattoo parlors. That was extended to the 27th, which included bowling alleys and movie theaters. And keep in mind, during that time, during April 24th and April 27th, which was a Friday and a Monday, we were still under a stay-at-home order that did not expire until the following Thursday. So, obviously for us, it was very concerning. We thought we've done a pretty good job of mandating and managing the process and opening up so quickly. The weather got nice, and people in Savannah lost their minds. I mean, and people, came visiting us from other places, and I mean, I ran into so many people who they were coming to Savannah, and well, where you come? I'm coming from North Carolina. I'm coming from New York. Why? Because we're closed there. Y'all are open, and so that kept going. And then, of course, when we got into Memorial Day weekend, I mean, and even today, I mean, we were walking today. We just see so many people walking around without facial coverings on, without social distancing, living their best lives. And so when that happens, the numbers go up. And the problem with that is that the people who are getting infected are younger, and we call those super spreaders. And the interesting thing about that is that they're younger, they heal quicker, but then they also carry the virus. They carry the virus, and so they might heal, but mama they go see, and grandmama they go see, and auntie they go see may not, and so that's how they get infected.
So if it was solely up to you, when would you have lifted this stay-at-home order?
Probably not until at least the first week in June.
The first week in June.
Because in our minds, we figured if businesses stayed closed through the first, and I mean, I understand where the governor was with it. I mean, businesses are crying to reopen and need to reopen, but now we're putting ourselves in a situation where we could actually have a wave that lasts into the school year. I mean, we're now in some dangerous parts. I mean, New York, and being a native New Yorker, I was proud of that state. I mean, they ran the playbook on it, and now their numbers are down. New Jersey's numbers are down. Georgia's numbers are up, and so that's the issue I have with it.
Okay. Well, many of the residents of Savannah, Georgia, they're operating off the fact that COVID-19 is a virus and it's not going to go anywhere. So they're wanting to know what is the point of social distancing, because they're thinking of it as the flu.
Right. Well, it's not the flu. It's definitely not the flu. Medically speaking, the damage that occurs from COVID-19 is such an arrest to the pulmonary system that when people are sick or they're in the throes of it, they're putting people on respirators, meaning that you could not breathe for yourself. So it's not the same. It's not the cold. I mean, we've had flus for years, but people remember the Spanish flu of 1918. This is not your ordinary flu. And so people who feel that way, and if that's the case, I mean, if I have the flu, I don't want to be around anybody to give them the flu. I mean, I just think we have to exercise. I mean, again, it's been difficult for everybody. I mean, I haven't seen my parents in months. I really want to go see them, but I love them enough to stay away from them because I don't want to infect them. And so we have to be able to take on that same type of personality here, that we want people to be safe.
So how important is the social distancing, the 6 feet apart?
It's very important as a part of a menu. We know that whenever somebody speaks, there are what's called aerosol droplets that come out of your mouth, and they travel. We know under regular circumstances, if we're just talking, then it travels at a maximum of 6 feet. So you keep somebody away from 6 feet, then even if I'm infected, I can't necessarily reach you if you're 6 feet away, which is why we also, encourage masks. Now, my mask actually protects you. It doesn't protect me. Your mask protects me. And so with that, with the barrier and the distance, we're able to try to keep people safe, and we're able to kind of get the numbers on a downswing.
So why do you feel like people aren't taking it as serious as they should be?
Because our numbers are going up. Straight up. I mean, our numbers are exploding. I mean, we're over 1,000 cases in Chatham County. We're not talking about visitors. We're talking about people who live here. 1,000 cases. And some of that is that sometimes some people are working for businesses that, tell them you can't wear a mask. Or you have to work in these cases. Or they don't insist that people coming in their company wears a mask. And so if you look lately, we have restaurants across the city closing because, somebody and then came up with COVID-19. And so, this thing it spreads quickly. We're not sure of all the ways it does spread, but we know that people can be asymptomatic for days, from 2 to 14 days. I can carry this and not be sick. So you know how many people I can infect between 2 and 14 days? That's a concern.
So the mandatory mask order, where do you stand at with it?
I'm seriously considering it. If you look at us, in Florida, they're doing it. In South Carolina, close to us, Hilton Head and Beaufort are doing it. Um, I can't believe that they would care more about their citizens than we care about ours. If our citizens go over there, they have to wear a mask to protect them. I just can't see why, if they are in Savannah, that they can't wear masks to protect Savannahans.
So let's talk about the essential workers. What are some of your concerns for them? Because they're out there every day working.
Everybody's an essential worker now.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, the essential worker term only came up when there was a stay-at-home order.
Okay.
So when there was a stay-at-home order, then everybody had to stay at home except for these classes of people,
okay,
which are called essential workers.
Okay.
And so now there's no stay-at-home order. Everybody's an essential worker.
Okay.
And nobody's an essential worker. I mean, I'm an essential. I worked throughout the pandemic and came to work every day. And so now that's gone.
Okay. So
it doesn't exist, right?
Okay. So during these times, we know that anxiety and depression is at an all-time high.
Sure.
What mental health resources does Savannah have?
Again, those services are not provided by Savannah. They're provided by the state and through the county. And again, these are very, very hard times. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's stressful. I mean, we've not been through this before. I mean, who wants to look at the TV every time you turn on the TV? It's something going on. There's something going on about this. Or somebody gets sick, or you're scared of getting sick, and you can't see your kids, you can't see those you love. You just want to get out sometimes and just scream, but you really can't do that because you got to be 6 feet away in order to do it. So, I mean, I think your mental health is very, very important. People are not able to really go to church or go to their religious institutions like they used to. That would have been a way to get it out. They can't really see their friends and hang out. So, there is mental health resources out there.
Okay.
We've published some of them. There are hotlines, and then locally there are some resources that people can access because these times, I mean, we want people to be okay.
You definitely do, and I think that many people have also been faced with a lot of hardships financially. Are there any programs that prevent evictions at this particular time?
Well, Georgia was called a strong property rights state.
Okay.
And so the state of Georgia essentially says that two people entering into a legal agreement is a legal agreement. And so therefore, if I'm the landlord and you are the tenant, if we enter into a legal agreement, we've entered into a legal agreement.
Okay.
So the city can't get in the middle of that legal agreement.
Okay.
However, because there's been a judicial emergency proclaimed, and it started in May through June, and now it's extended to the middle of July. The courthouses have been closed. Now, our magistrate court, unfortunately, has started also taking on what's called dispossessories. That's the beginning of an eviction process. Fortunately, our sheriff has indicated to me that they're not putting anybody out.
Okay.
So you might have the order to be evicted, but you may not be put out. So, so some people, I'm telling them, I mean, we have to be able to find ways to make that happen because there'll come a day in which these evictions will be happening like that.
Okay.
So
I know my next question is about the unemployment. I know you can't answer that on the state of Georgia, but the unemployment rates, they're rising every day. Some people still have yet to get their first payment. What steps can they take because they're not answering the telephone?
I agree. I've been calling. I figured if the governor wanted to open something on April 24th, it should have been an unemployment office. It's a very, very hard time for our community across the state. I mean, and you know, the last thing you need is not to be able to get through to a person. And you know, it frustrates people, and that's the anxiety that you're talking about. So, you know, we've been trying to reach out where we can to help them to help expedite some of those. But yeah, it's just so many.
It
So
is.
many.
It truly is. With the death of George Floyd, there has been thousands of protests across the country. A recent outcry to end systematic racism. What has been put in place so systematic racism doesn't happen right here in Savannah in Chatham County?
Well, that's a multifaceted issue because um, the issue of George Floyd wasn't about systematic racism. It was about police brutality. You had an officer who knew better and chose not to do better. You had across the country incidents where officers were trained and you know they, in my opinion, took advantage of the rights, the sacred rights, the responsibility they have as police officers. You know, police officers are taught about use of force continuum, about being able to apply a minimum number or level of force to be able to eliminate or to overcome a threat. And so, in doing that, and they train on that every single year. And so, you know, it was just difficult. I mean, this has not been a new issue for the African American community. In 1999, I remember in New York a case of Amadou Diallo, you know, which was the man that was killed by police in 2006. Sean Bell was shot 50 times by New York City police officers on the day before his wedding, and he was unarmed. And so people have been talking and marching about this. The difference was, and so the brutality has been there, and it's not all police officers.
It's definitely not.
It's not all police officers. I know great police officers. One of them is standing right there. But on the other end of it, all black men are not criminals either. And so, the, so at this time, the difference was, I think the pandemic had quieted everybody down enough, where people just saw it as like, you know what, this ain't right. And then you see the names, and then you realize these are people that are connected to people. This was somebody's mother, somebody's son. And I think the difference is that God has allowed us at this point in time to be able to see it and feel it, which is why you see, I mean, people just say, nah, this ain't right. This is not right. We finally see what you've been talking about forever. So the first part is about police brutality in the city of Savannah. I think we're taking extraordinary steps to make sure that we are doing the things that we should be doing as it relates to this. But on the other end of it, you know, once you deal with brutality, you have to deal with the systemic racism. So for us, it's really not systemic racism as much as it is for disparities. And so I've asked Mayor Otis Johnson, the 64th mayor of our city, to be able to look at disparities across the board. Because there's one thing to be emotionally, you know, upset and mad and y'all don't treat us right. Systemic racism and we'll do all this, but you have to be able to prove it. You have to be able to quantify it. So for us, we're looking at police, education, employment, healthcare, neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to pull data. And so, you know, and we're going to see what it says. And I think it's important for us, if we're going to address issues of systemic racism or disparities, you have to have the facts.
Exactly.
And so it's a heavy lift, but for us, it's something I'm glad that Savannah's doing.
Okay. So we have the upcoming 2020-2021 school year with Savannah Chatham County Public School System coming up in a few months. What measures are they taking to keep the students and the staff safe as they enter back into the classroom?
I do not know. You know, I'm just the mayor, but I do know that they have been practicing at Gadsden Elementary, trying to practice. I mean, you know, it's gonna be difficult because, you know, how do you social distancing? But then on the other end of it, there is an academic component to school. You know, all kids don't have access to computers. All kids don't have access to Wi-Fi. All kids don't have parents that are going to stay on them, you know, make sure they do it right. And then the kids need a social component too, and being with their friends and being with their cohorts and experience life together. So, I mean, obviously we put trust into our school board and our superintendent. I trust they'll do the best that they can with the information they have. And so, we'll just wait and see.
Okay. So let's talk about your Friday Night Lives. What made you start that?
I had no life. I had nothing to do. And people asked me questions about something. And so it was like the same questions. Let me go ahead and go on live.
Okay.
And, I used to do the lives during the hurricanes. And next thing you know, 300-400 people on here. And then, we're talking more. And we end up sometimes with 1,500 people, 2,000 people.
10,000.
Right. And then it goes up to, that, and people are just watching. And so this is just basically me, because I have no life. It's Friday night. And it's like, let's talk about the things that are on my mind. So I try to keep it to an hour. And I'll kind of it's a great way to get information out. We've been pushing census and voting and those types of things. And then we'll take questions from people. Because, because of Facebook and everybody becomes, kind of these Facebook celebrities sometimes that, sometimes information out there is just wrong, dead wrong. And so it helps me be able to kind of, something.
And it also helps you be proactive with the residents of Savannah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it helps me stay connected.
It definitely.
Because people now have an opportunity to speak directly to a mayor. Sometimes, some of the comments I get are not nice. Sometimes they're threatening. I mean, I'm a big boy, I have that. But they better be careful. If they come for me and I ain't sent for them, it's going to be a problem. And so sometimes they come for me and they sorry they did.
Okay. So, being that we're experiencing this COVID-19 pandemic, what do you feel will be the biggest obstacle for you to get the city of Savannah back on track?
People's behavior.
Okay.
People have to wear masks. They have to social distance. They have to be responsible. If they do not, this thing could last for a very long time. And keep in mind now, once you leave the summertime, you get back into regular school season. And could you imagine having COVID-19 plus regular flu? I mean, it'd be a rough time in the land.
It definitely will be. So, I want to thank you, Mayor Johnson, for coming on the show, on the prayer show, sitting with me.
I know.
I really appreciate it. Would you like to say anything to the viewers?
I do.
Go ahead.
Well, where they at?
Right here.
All right. Hey, I mean, this is all professional up. I mean, she has lighting, she has her own stage crew, and, everything, got the nice, comfortable couch and everything, and so, I appreciate it. I mean, I think it's important for us to be responsible with our space.
I had to make sure we were social.
Well, I mean, just space and the time that we occupy, and so, obviously, you use your platform. We checked you out before they let me come over here. They checked, but I mean, it seemed like you were being responsible and making sure that the right information is getting out. And to us, that's important. It's important for us to make sure people are knowing the right things because, we can rumor you to death. Well, I heard you do this. I heard if you do that. No, I mean, we need people to have the right information. And I appreciate you taking the time and being persistent. I mean, obviously, it's been very busy for us. But, I'm glad we were able to make it.
I am too, so glad.
And, thank you, crew. I said thank you.
Oh, sorry. You're welcome.
Come over here so people can see you. That's Kanasia. All right, wait, okay, here, sit over here. Wave to the people. What grade you in?
I'm going to ninth.
What school?
Woodville.
Well, Miss McGuire, huh? Well, if you go back. Scared?
Well, what kinda? I'm nervous. Because it's going to be something new.
What do you think about COVID? I'm sorry, take over your show.
Oh, you good.
I just wondered. I'm
scared for it because I don't want to catch it because I'm young. But I don't have a
We
week
young
of
too. What you trying to say? We young.
Sorry.
We young.
Because I'm young. I mean, I don't have
How's it been like the summer? I mean, so far you out of school, you can't say bye to your friends. It's like one day, when school is like, it goes like in March.
March.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one day you go to
Spring
school.
break, and then we didn't.
Right, it's like, you know, hey, all right, see you next week, and then it was like, we ain't see you again. What middle school did you go to?
Coastal.
Yeah, so you didn't see them again. You didn't get a chance to tell them bye. Did you have a bridges ceremony?
It was online. It was on YouTube, I guess.
Okay. We're proud of you.
Thank
Very
you.
proud of her.
You better do a good job over there.
I will.
I know Miss McGuire. I know Miss McGuire come over there and see.
I'm a good child.
There you are.
She is. Well, we definitely want to thank all our viewers tonight. I would like y'all to go and share the show. Definitely tag anyone in it. And I always thank y'all for viewing the Pearl Show. Follow me on all social networks at Pearl the Celebrity. YouTube. YouTube, the Pearl Show.
Well, can I do mine then too?
No, I'm not gonna tell you to do yours.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not pro celebrity, but mine is Mayor Johnson SAV. Mayor Johnson SAV. Mayor Johnson SAV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I have Snapchat, but I don't know how to use that, so I haven't used it. I want to thank Sergeant Billy Gray for hanging out with me this evening as well.
Thank y'all.